Welcome back to Clipview. Tired of overpriced pre-builts? Today I'm building this absolute beast of a custom PC from scratch. Step by step, zero experience is needed. We'll pick parts, assemble like a pro, manage the cables for that clean look, and fire it up for insane gaming performance. You'll walk away ready to build your own and save big. If you love epic PC builds and tech upgrades, philosophy, or just tech in general, then smash that subscribe button and hit the bell. You don't want to miss out. Trust me, you don't want to miss out. Because what's next on Clipview might just be something that would be worthwhile. Anyways, let's go ahead and get building. But before we get building, I'll go ahead and show you what we're building. Bam! This guy right here. This is the dark flash case. It's got walnut front plate here. And it's got both sides are removable mesh front. And if I fire it up, you can see this is about as loud as it gets. For it to link up. Bam. So, if you're excited like I am, let's go ahead and start getting into building this guy. Alright, so let's get into this. So, we're going to be building this Rogue Strix B550i gaming motherboard. And this is a pretty small motherboard. It's probably the smallest one I've built. So obviously the first thing is to get all your parts out of there, because we're going to need them. And since we're going to be building on top of this, just be easier. This is good for AMD Ryzen 5000X desktop ready, and it can do also the 3rd gen AMD Ryzen. It is a B550 motherboard, so it is a little older one. I think we're on what, 700, 600. Yeah, I think 700. It does have the Aura Sync, which is Asus lighting control. I can use this as a gaming. It does have PCI 4.0 ready. Get to the motherboard for you guys real quick. So as you guys can see, this is a pretty small one. Got your CPU socket. Does have a fan on top of here to help cool the VRAM. On this side we have display, HDMI, USB. That's going to be our BIOS flashback. A couple more USBs. We have a Type-C here and here. This one underneath our audio. Audios do light up in colors, so it makes it easier when plugging in stuff. Our Wi-Fi connections, 1 gig internet. Wish it was 2.5 or 10. It might be 2.5, I don't know. Either way, it's it's pretty small. Power wise, we just got a 8-pin up here, and then of course we have the biggest one right here. And this is going to take a while because they cramped everything together. But all of our connections are pretty much here except our audio, which is hiding down here in the corner, which is going to be a little hard to get to, but I think we can manage. Of course, all of our RGBs, there's our fan headers, pump, all that. I might need to take these off so we can mount our radiator and cooling system, which will be the pump going here over the CPU. And then our CPU will obviously is going to be the part that gets the hottest. So Either I could have done a regular fin stag with a fan blowing and just have that, or go for the ultimate cooling and do radiator support. So I figure radiator. We only have 2 slots for RAM on this, but that should be more than fine. We still do have a by 16 interface here, so we can put any card we want. So we can do a graphics card, we can add another USB, we can add networking card, or anything that will fit in to that slot. So that's nice. I already have a M.2 in this one. There is one more on the back side, so this will hold 2 M.2s, which is nice. I think this plate will stay. We just need to lose these guys. Of course, you gotta resort to your "dude, how do I do that" manual. Alrighty, so let's get into it. So the first thing I always do is look into my stuff, figure out what exactly I need. So and since this is the most fragilest thing on here and most expensive, depending, it could be cheap, but anyways, what it is these little pins. You don't want to bend these. On Intel's, the pins are actually on the motherboard, so little day and night difference there, but still the same. Just want to be really gentle when doing that. The socket will also tell you what CPU can go in there. So this is AM4. We're up to AM5 now. This is going to take DDR4 memory. We're up to DDR5. So as you can see, we're not building the newest greatest thing, but we are building something that is tested true and will perform just fine. Alright, so you get the manual real quick. We're putting a Nebula series radiator and pump into this. This is all from Dark Flash, which is what most of our components are going to be, so I'm hoping they will play nicely together. Oh yeah, we want to make sure we pull that off. They did a nice job telling you Intel or AMD, so. And of course, when, like I said in my other videos, if you're going to start building a personal computer, make sure you have an idea of what exactly you want to build, because that is everything. So reason for that would be, I want to say, yes, I wanted to have Wi-Fi. Yes, I need a lot of USB connections. Just sometimes, because you can just get a graphics card and be just fine with that. We're going to do a graphics card on this, but this chip will allow us to get by without one, which helps a lot for troubleshooting, since these do not have the error code lights. Well, readout, the digital readout, we just have the lights, so it helps some but not fully. So yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. And if you do look very closely, it does tell you what's up here. So there's the front panel, right? And it'll tell you the hard disk drive, LED reset, power button, power LED, all that goes over here. Tells you this is a front panel speaker. Over here we have temperature sensor. There's our audio. We have the CPU fan, all-in-one, which is AIO pump. With that one, and then we have our VRM fan, which is just so it's already plugged in, so we're ready to go. We do have a nice chunk of metal on there for cooling our chokes and everything. So, and then our audio card is actually underneath our M.2 slot, so that's kind of interesting how they did that. So the smaller the motherboard, you lose out on some features, but you gain a more compact type, which then means you can put it into a smaller case, which then means it looks better on the desktop, right? Or on your desk, I mean. We do have a Wi-Fi antenna, so I'm gonna try to find a magnet to put on the bottom of that, so our case is metal, and that will help just keep everything steady and intact. So it sounds like, yes, we just got these 4 screws we need to undo. We're gonna pull that out. We're gonna get our bracket ready, and then we should be rocking and rolling. And for our RAM, we went with my tested, tried, and my go-to, which is PNY. This is DDR4, 16 gigabytes, 3200 megahertz. I got 2 of them, so we should be able to max it out for 32 gigabytes of RAM. Should be more than enough for what we're gonna do with this. Of course, that's gonna be some fun packaging to get into. I do not like how they seal these, but I understand. So, last case I built was the Eclipse P500A. I did not record that video. In our AO all-in-one cooling kit, we got our thermal paste, very important. It's going to go on top of our CPU. I know this might look all intimidating, but trust me, it ain't that bad. Once you sit there and process it, everything moves quite smoothly. So we got these guys. We will not need these. These are just spacers, so we won't need those guys. Don't think we'll need these. Oh, these are radio screws. Yes, we'll need those. Sorry, I was thinking differently. We will need these. These are going to be our AMD standoffs since we're using AMD CPU. And these are going to be our mounting screws. So the next thing we'll need is our bracket out of here, which is going to connect to the actual pump itself. And they gave us 3 different brackets in here. 2 Intel ones, 1 AMD. And I think we got this one just fine, so we'll put those back in the box. Next, we're going to bring our radiator fan over here. So that's going to be our dark flash. It's got a hefty pump on it, which is quite nice. There's our arrow. And since I know it's going to rotate, just find the key spots, which I am not doing a good job with that. So they did key this quite interestingly, and it's going to twist that way, which, yes, we want it that way. Okay, and it locks in place. Nice sound there. You can just go ahead and remove this guy. Of course, you don't want to touch this and get your oils on there. If you do end up getting oils on from your hand on there, just use some isopropylene alcohol. Wipe it nicely with a microfiber cloth. You should be good to go. Some say a paper towel. It's your preference. Just make sure there's no debris left. Alright. Now that we got that on, and of course, as you can see, we already have our cables here. So that's our going to be for our pump and our fan. Yeah, I think our fans plug into that. Because you can get into software and actually set the fan curve for that, so you can have it ramped up all the way for mounting some cooling. You can have it on auto, so when the system starts getting hot, it will ramp up on its own. So we'll go ahead and start putting in the CPU. So we'll lift that guy up. As you can see, the whole sled here will slide, which means it is not broken, which is good. This is the part that everybody seems to struggle with. So on the CPU, central processing unit, there is a indicator mark. For AMD on this one, it's going to be a golden triangle. And then what we want to do is we want to look for a triangle on here, which is over here, so we know which direction it goes in. And then what you want to do is just drop it in gently. I like to do just a tiny little nudge to see if it moves. But I felt it go in, so we're good there. So now we will drop the pin, which locks that in place. And then we can move on to removing these guys. Of course, you want to do this on a box because the back of this is it's it's not fun. Of course, we have the M.2 we want to get done on there too. We will get to that once we get this done. I'm always afraid of putting M.2s on the back side because, well, they're like the thickness of a stick of gum, which is means that you push down too hard and you can actually snap them. We have a Western Digital Blue, and then we have a Samsung Evo that's underneath this cover right now. There is a thermal pad which is stuck to the top or the bottom of this cover here. So that's our M.2 heatsink. Of course, if I wanted to, I can go the route of, where did I put it? One of these guys. We can put the really old tried and true hard drive in here. The only problem is it's going to be really slow, and well, this one is 4 terabytes. Both of my M.2s are 1 terabyte, so this is like the newest type of standards. They just go up in speeds. So these are not like the fastest, newest, greatest ones. But like I said, no need to be doing that. That'd be like putting a freaking Ferrari engine in a little Hyundai Sonata. Alright. That's probably a bad analogy. Anyways, let's go ahead and finish up. Of course, you get your sticker you can put on your case. That is an optional thing. Some people like the clean look, so they won't do it. Others like the badge thing, so they'll badge the hell out of it. So we will need these guys, which kind of look like this. And then also I'll need to look and see which direction it goes since there are screws on both sides. But I think I have an idea on which way they go. Which would be this way. So just get them started. I don't like using power tools right off, because like I said, you don't want to cross thread and ruin, because like I said, your components are especially nowadays are going to be a lot more money than most people like to shell out. So especially when you get to your graphics cards. Those are the most expensive. Motherboards, sometimes. RAM, just depends on the market. They were down, now they're going back up. CPUs, they seem to stay somewhat steady, and they can be up there in price, depending on, you know, here we go, what class you're going with. So like this is a Ryzen 5, so this is going to be like in the middle. Could put a Ryzen 9, which means you would get more cores and thread count, which would change this into more of a serious gaming or heavy workloads, like if you're running CAD and that sort of thing. But we're building this for stability. Obviously, you put a bigger chip in here on a small board, heat is going to be your constant enemy, so you want to keep that in mind. So there's our Western Digital Blue, 1 terabyte. I did open this just to make sure that everything's fine. You know, shipping can be quite crazy, and as you can see, yeah. This was definitely a questionable piece. I was like, ah. Alrighty. So what I will need for that is over here. That would be this guy, which will have our standoff. Kind of like these are our standoffs. You have it on the case too. Will come with standoffs. Wait until you see the case. The case is going to be a nice one. And then we have the screw to hold it down. Some of these newer motherboards come with a toolless, and it's just a little swivel latch which will lock down these guys. So I'll flip this over. Luckily mine's already on here, so all I need to do is loosen this little booger up, which not wanting to cooperate. I'm trying. I think I need to. Oh, I got it. Cool. These are just like the smallest screws ever. Now, if you have a magnetic screwdriver, that'd be awesome. It's not needed. And also, as you can see, it's not what it looks like that's in the box, but it is Western Digital Blue. Comes your booklet with all the information you need, multiple languages. I will have to contact Ryan and see if he wants me to save all the packaging boxes from all this stuff or not. I tend to just keep the box the PC case came in because it makes it easier for if you need to store it. Alright, so now here we are looking at this guy. As you can see, this is what we consider a key. There's different type of keys because of the slot here. So what you need to do is look on yours here, make sure it matches, because if your slot is in the middle, that's a different key that will not work with this. So just keep that in mind. As you can see, there's nothing on the back side, so everything that's going to get hot is on the front. When you get different manufacturers do these differently, they'll put the chiplets on both sides or one side. Like with the Samsung Evo, it's on both sides. And as you can see, it is literally thin. It's just a PCB with your chiplets on her. Anyways, as I digress. So we want to be just gentle. We want it up at an angle so it slides in. There will be no click. It'll just do a little bouncy board. Make sure it's pushed in all the way. Then we'll grab our screw. We'll drop it in here. Nope, that's where a second pair of hands is. See it? You can see it. This is the trouble thing. It's like building Legos for adults. And if you got fat fingers like me, this does not work too well. And like I said, having a magnetic screwdriver would be ideal. You want to be careful too. You don't want to press down too hard, because if you knock out any of the chips on the back of this motherboard, then your motherboard is pretty much useless. Alright, that's getting annoying. I don't think I have. Let me just get that lower and closer to this guy. Like I said, a magnetic screwdriver would be ideal. Get creative with how you. Oh, and no, and then of course carpet floors, which means hard to find. Don't do what I just did and lose it. That's gonna suck. Luckily, we have a spare, so glad I was able to show you guys this on camera. Why these M.2s just suck. I mean, they don't suck when they. It just sucks installing them. Especially with big fat fingers like mine. Right. It doesn't help it that though. Oh, come on. There we go. Now it's in. The sticker you can always pull off if you don't want it there. I tend to just leave them. They're not hurting nothing, and it's always nice to look back and make sure you got, you know what you got there. Alright, so now we'll take a coffee break, let my hands stop shaking, because that's probably the most frustrating part of building this PC, or building any PC that has M.2s, is that guy. Some good old coffee. Honestly, if you need to take breaks, go ahead. It's not like this is going anywhere. We only have play in this because we have not put our heatsink on yet. And then we'll get into that. So, when picking these guys out, or if you're going with a fan stick, you always want to keep in mind clearance of your RAM, because well, we got some low clearance. These are not LED, which are good. I just went with the basic. Everything seems to be LED these days, and well, that can be kind of frustrating too, because then it looks like just a Christmas lights all over, which I guess would be kind of interesting. We will have lights, they'll be coming from the fan. And then I do have a surprise I'm doing for him on this, so I'll show you guys that. And I hope I have the right connection. I need just a USB on this, which there should be a USB. That's where grabbing your booklet and going through it will help. Tells you all the information you need to know. Gives you memory configurations. It tells you how to do the RAM, how to put in your CPU, which DIMM to populate first, so A before B obviously, so the one closest to the CPU. Where is it? Here it is talking about the fan pumps. It's talking about the VRM cooler. Blah. There's a whole layout of your EATX power, and then your 8-pin power. So if you ever wanted to know what pin did what, like I said, these books come with motherboards are so helpful. Talking about the M.2. Talking about how to install it. Obviously there are different lengths of these guys, so they're talking about what that part would be for. I do have that, but you want regular. So what I'm looking for is, and then it would be the connections for hooking up external hard drives, so we could do 4 of them, or you can do a disk reader drive. That'd be where that plugs in. There's our USBs. That one be for the front of the case, so I can't use that one. This is going to be this guy, which will also be occupied because of the case. Can't use that. And then it says we have a USB down here, so that works. Cool. So we do have a USB we can use. Addressable Gen 2 headers for LEDs. We have a 3-pin and a 4-pin. Tell you what voltage goes on one, green, red, and blue GRBs. This one will be just data, 5 volts and ground. Clear CMOS, so that's always handy. Once you get into bigger boards, they have a lot more connections, which are nice. Like I said, front panel audio, which is tucked way down here, which is going to be fun. Our speaker, front panel connectors. Luckily they made it easy. I'll show you guys. That's going to be really nice. And then here's those troubleshooting lights I was talking about. They call them QLEDs. So if it's a yellow, green, it's booting. If it's white, it says it's VGA. If it's CPU, it's going to be red. If it's your RAM, it's going to be yellow. So you can look, because if it's in there and you boot it up, and it will go through all these colors multiple times. If it hangs up on one of these, you can look and be like, oh, so it's saying CPU issue, so I'm gonna have to take the pump off, take the CPU out, reset it, which means you just take it out, put it back in. It's kind of like a reset. Sometimes computers can be quite frustrating in that sense. There's our BIOS flashback LED, and it just walks you through installation. There's the different type of CPU cooler I was talking about, which is just a big block of copper with fins, so when your case fans are blowing air, they'll be going across this, when heat will dissipate off of that. There it is, talking about the thermal compound. And then just telling you to plug that into the CPU fan, because we're going with this style. And that will be what we will be getting into. So as you can see, it's going to look kind of crazy. Of course, they're showing a different motherboard here. That is at ATX. We're not using ATX. So yeah, let's just get into this. I'll have to refer to this just to make sure I'm getting wires plugged into the right headers, and yeah. Anyways, so with RAM, oh, I love the clam style ones. This notch is not really centered, it's off to one side or the other. So you want to look down on your motherboard here, and as you can see with this one, our notches are here. You want to make sure these are pressed down. These ones don't move. These over here do. So we want to pull those back since we're going to populate both of them. There is no chiplets on this side, but if you look closely, which is probably going to be hard since this is black on black, you can actually see the thin tiny lines of the circuitry. So pretty cool. Once again, if you want to pull these off, you can. Like I said, I leave them on, and I always start with the one closest, and you want to just get it right there, and then with both hands press down. Don't pull to one side or the other, you will just snap this in half. There we go. It's going to sound crunchy, but that's normal. And as you can see now, that's installed. As I was trying to say, I'm going with a nice theme here. That's the other thing when building a computer, is what theme you want to go with. They do make different colored motherboards. Some have lights, some don't. We'll see if this has lights. And has a holographic foil on here with for the eyes here, so that's kind of cool. I don't know if that's cameras are going to catch that or not, but it's there. And then we'll get the other one installed. It's going to be a long video because I'd rather just show you guys exactly how this is built. I did not do a good job in my last videos when building PCs, so that is that. Also try to keep your work area clean, because you don't want to be trying to search through everything trying to find something. So here is our other RAM stick. Exactly the same. There is. If you can get these in a kit, that is the ideal way of doing it. Especially if you're doing very precise type of use with these guys. RAM, when they're paired directly in a kit, will beat separate ones, but you always want to make sure that these are exactly the same, because if this one is 32 gigabytes and or speeds, I mean, sorry, if this is 3200 and this is only 1600, this will only run at 1600 for speed wise. So obviously make sure your RAM is the same. I'll go into more depth and detail in other videos when I talk about motherboards, talk about RAM. And there we are. So now, as you can see, we got our CPU in, we got our nice head start on mounting the pump, our RAM is in, we got our M.2s in. I didn't want to take that off because I don't want to mess with that again, and this time there would be two of them, plus there's also one down underneath that is actually holding the M.2 in, so yeah, just don't want to do it. Sorry guys, but that is more of a headache. Putting the thermal compound on, because that's where we're going to be at next. Everyone seems to have their own theory. Some say you put a pea size in the middle, some say it don't matter, you can draw a face. Some say no, it's best to use a spatula and spread it out so you get even coating all the way across. Some will put their hand in a plastic bag and do it that way. The only thing that really to take away from this is make sure that your thermal compound goes all the way around this, and I always do the spreading thing because I want to make sure I know before I put that down that this is getting the most contact with the copper plate on the bottom of this guy for optimal cooling. Because like I said, those things get hot, and within seconds, if this isn't right, you'll burn out your CPU. For this one, we're using DP5. This is theirs. So this is a ultra high thermal conductivity paste. Dark paste series. Yeah, that's all just marketing scam. I used Thermal Grizzly in the past. There's all kinds of different brands. Of course, they want to wrap this with plastic and then make it so hard to get it up. And if you guys are enjoying this, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. And then thermal paste does come in different colors. It just pulls off. This is going to be like a gray. It will be thick, and it does, if you get it on your skin, as you can see, it does rub off, but it is really nasty. So we'll just, like I said, make sure you don't have anything on there. Push it down, something like that. People are gonna be like, "That's too much." Well, like I said, I spread it out. If this gets on your motherboard or off to the side, it ain't gonna hurt it. You just don't. I'd frown on it if it gets underneath it, because that's gonna be really hard to clean. And obviously, the solid gold pins on this, and yes, they are gold. That's what makes that CPU expensive, because gold is a good conductor. And we will just spread. And with like I said, with using this, as you can see, it is so thick. This is like the embarrassing thing, is showing this, because I know, like I said, everyone has their own way of doing things. And that's fine. We're not here to judge. It's not what we do here. And this way, you can always add more. Always take it off. If you're gonna clean this, I would use isopropylene, alcohol, and paper towel, and you will get them right off. I think this thermal paste is really dried out. It should not be this hard to put on. Look at that. Yeah, so this stuff's old. So I'm glad I was able to show you that. It should not be able to scrape it off easily like that. So, of course, you can try running hot water over this, and maybe that's it, but it's been indoors, so no excuse for that. If it's all going to be that way, or is it just a little bit? And with me having such hot hands, use some of that chi, warm it up. Maybe it was just dried at the tip, even though the lid was on. Or like I said, it could just be really cheap thermal compound. Why they gave you such a little one. Yeah, see, that's spreading a lot easier. Like I said, building PC is not a race. Take your time. Do it properly. Because mistakes happen when you rush. Honestly, with a bigger motherboard, this would be easier to apply. Okay, come on. Alright. Let's just add some more. Boom, boom. That's lovely. I'm just gonna go get a better thermal paste. Be right back, guys. I always can come back and edit. So, alright, we're back. So, boxes have changed, but this is what I use. This is Arctic MX4. I got 2 tubes here. This feels a little more intact. 97%. Like I said, this is all those marketing stuff. This stuff is pretty darn cheap. As you see, that's a lot better of a box. And it even comes with its own little spreader, which is a lot more nicer than this guy. Alright. Mixing ain't gonna be a problem. Oh, I really put that one on there good. How do I get that one off? Alright, there we go. So this one twists off, so that's how I know. And see how liquidy that is? That's how I know this is going to spread nicely. Before I do that, let's scrape off as much as we can. Because obviously that, I mean, the CPU will get hot and will turn this into, hopefully, paste. But yeah, like I said, you shouldn't be able to scrape it off that easily. So. Alright, let's go ahead and apply ours. So we twist the cap off. They do give you a measurement. So as you can see, I already used up one, and this is just a plunger style. So I should get like 4 different uses out of this. Obviously, it depends on the size of the die of the CPU, which is the top part. That's what I call it. Others just say the top of the CPU. See how much more liquidy that is? Look at that. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. So if yours looked like how it was originally, then yeah, it needs to be cleaned up. See how much easier that spreads? That's how it should be. All I'm doing is just putting pressure on the backside, which then forces it to spread a little nicer. And then I'll come back on this side. Voila, like I said, like that. See how easy that was to spread it on there? And it should be a nice even coat. Of course, it'll squish out more, but that what this does is it just takes the heat from the CPU and allows it to transfer over to this, which then has water flowing through it, because this is just a pump here. So there are fins on the inside of this, and water goes through the fins, which, you know, dissipates the heat, warms the water up. The water comes up here to the radiator, where you'll go through a bunch of bends and turns, allowing the fans to have more time to cool it down before it comes back down, and repeat the process. Alright, I'll set that off to the side over here. And I always like reusing some of my parts to store stuff, so I can just continue building without making a mess. Make sure my lid's on tight. We don't need that no more. Still need those. We'll put our thermal compound back in there so we don't lose it. That one was trash because we used it all up. Don't need that anymore. Alright. So now, this is the part most people don't like doing because it's so frustrating. So I always found it easier to lay this on its side. I'll get it somewhat situated, and then just with a little bit of pressure, it will hold it there, or not. I'll get our screws ready. There we are. Hope that I have these right. If not, I'm going to be redoing these. And of course, I'm just getting these to finger, just by feeling tightness by the finger. And then do the opposite side. Should just be able to hold this down now. And we already pulled off the cover, so we're good there. Alright, so now we have it where it's being held down by both corners. And then it don't matter which side you go next. We're just always crossing over to the other side. Keep even pressure on it. Alrighty. And of course, thermal compound on me. We can always clean that up later. As the messiness. Oh, yeah. I got more? Oh, I do. I'm a mess, guys. It's a mess. That's okay. I always go back and clean my parts up after I build it, or after I build the computer. Go back with some isopropylene, clean up little areas just to get fingerprints off. Anything and everything you can think of. I know what I'm doing is going through, getting them to the point where I can't turn them anymore. Some say that's tight enough. You don't want to go too tight. See, that should be good enough. Oh, I still got some turning there. Okay, so now I'm even all the way across. If I wanted to, I can go with a screwdriver, and I can get it, see, just like that. That's it. About that much of a turn. So that one. See, there we go. Not really cranking down on these. There we go. And of course, you want to come back and check. No, it's still tight. All right. Now we have that done. Still need those guys, so we'll just set that off this side. We don't need these anymore. I have a big old parts box, so just literally parts left over from other builds. Hardware, zip ties, there's a speaker in that one, all kinds of stuff. Eventually I get too much of it and then I'll have to go through and figure out what to keep, what not to. Or just keep it all and just be a hoarder. Alright, so we have two different plugs on here. So this one is a 3-pin, so that's going to be our RGB. This, once you pull the cap off, oh, that's a 3-pin too. That must go to the light. Okay. So that's our RGB from our fan. And of course, cable managing this is going to be a little frustrating. And we have this guy. So, okay, there's our header for plugging into the motherboard. As you can see, we have 4 wires there, 3 on that side. So it's acting as a splitter. That's how they get a way of doing some of this. So when it comes to RGB and the fans, I remember when building PC was nothing but just fans. There was no LED lights on these guys. The good old days, right? I always take the zip ties off because, well, doing that is just not going to look good. That's going to be the other part of building PCs most people don't like, is the cable management. Some people get really religious about it, and you know, they want to make sure they have these laying flat, and yeah, going to color coding it, because you can get with power supply, you can get those wires in different colors. I've seen people literally just remake their own and have a fabric sleeve type deals on these guys. Yeah, it's people can get quite carried away with this. So there you go. Like I said, I always keep my zip ties on one area. So the fan's actually coming off of that, which is interesting because I'm confused here. This is where I need to look at the book and figure out what I'm looking at here. Because usually there's the wires coming off the pump, and you'll have a RGB, and then you'll have the CPU power, but for some reason this only has that, unless I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. Oh, we need to pull that off too. There we go. Get that down out of the way. So let's grab the book. What did I do with that book? Good question. Oh, don't like that over here. Oh, silly me. Not underneath it. That is a pretty heavy piece. Sidetracked. There we are. Okay. So here we are. So it's saying remove screws, which we did. Put those guys down, which we did properly. As you can see, the short one and the long, so we're good. Caps go down, sandwiches, alright. Now it says, yeah, motherboard fan 3-pin. So that's coming off of the pump, which is over here, so that's why I didn't see it. So, does that mean that our pump is up here then on this guy? That'd be interesting. That'd be very interesting if they did that. Because usually this is always the pump. So this must just be a big old fan that's... Anyway, oh, I digress. So it says, yep, that goes to the motherboard. And then this is coming off, so this connects to the 5-volt 3-pin ARGB socket. The other one, which is coming off of that, is going to connect to our fans. And then, obviously our fans are all daisy chaining off of each other, which will come to here. So one side will go here, the other side will go here. So that's our RGB, that would be to the motherboard. We need a 4-pin on that. Luckily, we have 4 pins on all of ours. So now I know what we got going on. That helps. And I will just keep that over there for right now. Okay. What do we want to work on next? Because obviously we don't want to do these yet because, well, it'd be easier to get that mounted first and then we can go around it that way. We have everything we need to assemble on this, so that's good. There's our graphics card we're going to be putting in. So as you can see, it's going to be quite nicely in there. Almost the same size. Oh, this is the car. This is the motherboard. That's interesting. Didn't see that coming. Like I said, no lighting on this guy. This is the Radeon RX 5500, 4GB. Has DDR6 RAM in here, and it does have HDMI and 2 display ports. So I guess what I need to do is start rearranging this for our case. So I will take this guy, we'll put it down. Don't need this motherboard box anymore. Here's our case we're going with. So I already got our shield in here, and press it in from the back side. So this will be what we have in there. So it's a little rusty, not too bad. It's a problem with building in a in a place like this until I get my stuff done. The reason I like this case a lot, there are screws here, so I can actually take this piece off and we can mount the radiator to it. Also, our power supply will mount inside the case towards the front instead of the back, which is on normal cases. So some things are different on this, which is interesting. But the downfall of this, not much room to do our cable management. It's all got to be right here, and they give us a little channel right here, which is okay, but you'll see when we continue on. I always do cable managing last. I probably won't bore you guys with that because, well, I get really tedious with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this undone. And that way we can get this metal plate attached to our radiator. Okay, there we go. Maybe they retain the screw. The screw doesn't come out all the way. That'll be fine. I just don't want to lose screws. We already lost one during this build. And obviously having a big work area would help out a lot in this. Make sure you're in a room that has good lighting. Alright, there's one of our screws. So this I didn't really retain them, which is fine. Now that just pops off. Yeah, so they maintain the screws on the top, just not on the bottom side. Which is interesting. I don't know, you guys can see all that dust on there. So I've been buying this piece by piece over several months now. Been working with Ryan to figure out what exactly he wanted, and then trying to make it work, because obviously it's not going to be easy to do when some of the stuff he wanted. Like, he wanted a small motherboard, but he wants a lot of USB ports. He wants something that will look good on his desk, but he doesn't want something that looks like something bought from the store. He wants something that is up to date and can run Windows 11. We're going to be doing Windows 11 Pro on this, just because get some more features on it. So I'm taking off the front part of this just so I can get access to our tray here that's going to hold the power supply, because as you can see, the power supply literally sits here. Radiator is going to be here, so the top of the case is going to be occupied quite well. Luckily, all it takes is 2 screws to be undone. You want to be careful of, because the cords are attached to this front panel. It's got our power button, reset button, our audio jack, USBs, has a USB 3.0 and a USB-C. So a little interesting there. So there's those guys. The tray just now slides up and out of the way. There's 3 different positions for height wise, and that'll be nice. We'll set this off to the side. We'll get the case out of the way for right now. Okay. So we can focus on getting this attached to our the noise for our fan, our radiator. Of course, the radiator is going to go like that, and then there we are, mount it up just like so, and be good to go. So right now this is just in a push configuration. If our case allowed it, we could add fans here and have a push-pull. If the fans are on top, then it's doing a pull configuration. So just some things to keep in mind. We need to locate our screws for this, so it's fit nicely right here in the bag, still sealed up. And then, of course, these are going to be small screws too. And what I do is I just support it with one hand while I line it up with the other. I always try to spark a start. This is metal on metal, which is a lot at the side of them more than I like. That is not the spot. There it is. Once you get it somewhat started, I just make sure that I do have it there, so So I started in a little bit. You'll have some play room because as you can see these holes are oval and not round. Move down here. There's another one started. And there we go. Now our tray is starting to be supported, not slide around all crazy like, which makes all that easier. So as you can see, if this tray did not come out of the actual case, we would have to be doing this inside the case, which is not fun. Because then you're working against gravity, and if it feels like it's not screwing in easily, back it out. Once you feel it kind of do a pop deal, then you know that you're not going to cross thread it. So there we are. And I don't tighten these right away, just somewhat snug, because well, we might need to slide this one way or another. And of course I'm a little OCD about making sure all the screws are in all the right holes, and technically you could just do 4 and be done. Me, if you can mount 8, go for 8. Because don't want stuff sliding around. I'm doing this off camera, sorry guys. So there's that. We've got 2 more to do. And then we can leave this out of the case once we get, well, leave this out from being attached. Those are not bent. Those are just where paint did not get to it. You can always check your fans. If they are bent, it's not the end of the world. You can always get in there nice and easily with like a small flathead, or just even your fingernail even, because that's how it is, and you can easily push it back out. So yeah, I do actually have some bent. It's not going to be the end of the world, like I say. Because sometimes it just happens. Alright, so there's that. Now we're all attached. So now, let's set this down. And yeah, we're building on my PC desk, which is a Call of Duty Black Ops desk. I like the desk, but I got this in what, 2020, 2021. The RGB lights on it just look like they're going out. So that's that. Anyway, getting off topic, let's get back on to topic. We need to pull our case back over so we can mount our motherboard. We want to be cautious over cables because we don't want to get them pinned. Don't want them entangled, that's the other problem. Alright. I guess I can just push the tabs on this just to keep the front cover on for right now. You can always pull that back off. Alright. I'll just slide that out of the way. Get the case in here so I can show you. So I already have our standoffs. We want to make sure those are in the right spot. There is 2 more down here we can do. For the next bigger size, like I said, that's the smallest motherboard. There's the next size, which I have my Zaku 2 in. So my Zaku 2 could fit in here, and that would be kind of cool because that'd be a red inside of an all black case. But we're not going that route. Alright, so now what we were going to do is See, this is why I said having this out of the way makes it so much easier. So now we're gonna line it up with the front cover. Push it in. We want to make sure that we're nice and flush and everything lines up, which we are, before you go adding your screws to mount it down. Which are going to be these guys right here. Luckily with this, we just have screws in the corners of the motherboard. Come on. That was not in. There we go. So yeah, like I said, you want to put pressure towards the back of the case to get it against your I/O shield. And then I like to get the next one on the top corner because it's what's going to keep it there. And then I get the fun part because, like I said, this case has so much, they went so high with it that adding getting screws in here are going to be a little on the challenging side, but I can get it done, so no worries there. Pull that out of the way. And once again, don't want to crank down on these guys. That's why I don't use power tools to put these in, because you can over torque these guys and just strip them out, and that's no fun. Yeah, this corner is gonna be fun. Alright, there we go. Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Now I got it all secured. I'll take a light in here and show you guys. Ooh, that's getting a little hot. So there's one in the corner there, one over here, one over here, one over there. We're all nice and in here, nice and neat. There's a cutout. That's the back of my, that's the top of the desk, so don't worry about that. Like I said, it's just plugging cables in. But I want to make sure I get my power supply in before I go any further. I might pull this and try to unravel those cords. I like to pull my cords all the way straight out. And then I'll also get into the power supply now so we can get this plugged in, get this plugged in, because these are going to be the hardest to get to once that's on, so we'll get that done. And then mount, and then I got a couple extra fans we can put in, so I'll do that before you gotta mount that guy. So I'm gonna do 3 on the bottom, and I have one on the back side here we're gonna put in. And of course they're all gonna be different models, but that's okay. Let's see. I guess I could temporarily set this in here. Oh, they're pretty stiff. That's fine. And of course, now I'm realizing how what I'm trying to figure out is clearance here. What do we got? Looks like it should work just fine. Power supply is going to be fun, so I might have to find a way. Yep, so that's where we're going to be next. We're going to stand this guy up. Just supply here in the front. And we'll rotate brake as I bump the camera. Alright. So on the back side we have Velcro straps, which are people managing this. Just pull this out for right now. There's our power for our power supply. Of course, that's being stubborn. And of course, that's going to be up out of the way for right now. And then I can just put this back down. Oh, or that works too. All right. Okay, so there's that. If you can use Velcro, I suggest just using Velcro. If you got the twisty ties, use twisty ties. Zip ties should be your last option. So for these guys, here's our Velcro ones. They're not expensive. They come in different colors. Voila. Holds it nicely. You can really get a nice tight grip. So, a little tab to hold on to. So the pincher didn't really get a nice tight grip on it. That's just a reference thing. So what do we got here? We got our LEDs that are on the front. So our power switch. There's our negative for our power LED. There's a reset switch. Negative power. Hard disk LED, so they put the positive and negative there, which is nice. If you're ever in question, they usually print it on there, or you can look at the wire, and the wire will have like a white stripe. So everything is in pairs of 2 except our power LED. We got positive and negative there, and the same with that. So just those 4. You don't have to. I mean, some people don't even do this and go a different way of doing it for booting theirs on. Some people will just hook up the power switch and the reset switch, or just the power switch. Either way, the LEDs are just, reference lights. I like to just get it all done. But luckily, Asus with this motherboard made it simple for us. We don't have to worry about getting all those plugged in to the motherboard. They added an adapter piece for us. And this is where the other part I gripe about motherboards is, as long as I have been building computers, these things just slide in and out of this so easily. Like power switch, right? They go in, okay? That is not a good connection. They're really thin. Break it off. Some of these slide right off, and then you're troubleshooting, like pressing the button, nothing's happening, and then you have to go through and figure it out. But as you can see, we have everything here. So our hard disk drive LED lights, which is there, so we just get that plugged in. Power switch, get that plugged in. Reset switch. Okay. I'm hoping. Oh, I'm not on camera, and I did bump the light. Sorry, guys. Alright, and then our reset switch is here. You want to make sure you get these right. Red wire is always going to be your positive. Black's always your negative. Sometimes power can be orange, it could be yellow. or I mean positive. And there we go. Sometimes I will take these guys, again, try to lay flat, right? And then like this, and then I'll just take tape around it to make this all nice and sturdy, and now I have more strength. But since this has got to pass there and get plugged in, so now all I did was take all of those connections and make it into one easy connection. There is a block out on the corner here, so that's going to be our reference on that. So we'll push that through. Go this way with that. So that's what that one is. We'll just go through and talk about each and every one of these. So that's going to be our USB. It's our big thick boy. So that'll be your USB 3.0, I believe. And then I do have a tie down, so I plan on just cable managing it that way. And of course, once we get that, we can do a nice clean bend back type deal. There is our USB-C, I believe that one is. I'm not sure exactly what all these. All I know is I made sure the motherboard had all the right ones. And there's our hard disk drive audio, which we got to snake through somehow. Oh, that's not gonna be fun. So that's gonna go all the way over here. I wish there was a cutout, and like on a lot of the cases I had, and I can just come that way. Obviously, you can't go that way. It's not gonna work. So I think what we'll do is we'll come down this way. And voila. So now we somewhat have everything we need. Get the twist out of this with this flat cable. That one should be fine. Leave that for now. And I believe we're good to flip this over and start getting some stuff plugged in. Oh. Alright. Let's see here. Let me scoot down a little bit. Alright. So we'll go to the hardest one, which is going to be at the bottom of our case, which is going to be nice. And there's a blank out on one of the rows, one over. So that's going to be our reference point there, which lines up with that one. So I know it goes this way. Oh my goodness gracious. Ah. I really hope I don't have to remove that. There we go. Just a little patience goes a long ways. Alright. Not push down all the way. Come on. Did I get it? I believe I did. Alright, so as you can see, now things are going to get a little chaotic with wires. I mean, I could kind of press it down, try to run it next to the M.2. This is where creativity comes into play. And then press out the extra that way. Alright. I'll just flip this way. So I'm going to need to look at the manual for that guy. This guy has a notch on it on one side, so if you look at the socket, we have a notch. So one goes this way. This is another one of those where you want to make sure you have really good lighting. So you can press down without bending any pins. There we go. Nice, easy snap. This guy is key to go in either way. Let's see if I can get that over on the other side. And boom, snap, good. Like I said, we can worry about slack here once we get this out of the way. This guy is our next problem, so I need to figure out what pins he goes on. That's the USB one, so if we're good there, I need to just keep that in mind, so I'll pull him out. Fans. I'm thinking that it's over here, but that would make sense, right? Yep. Okay. So he goes down over here. Oh, it just slides down. We're good. Of course, some people are really picky on that. They call that ketchup mustard. But I understand you don't want the heat shrink going all the way down, and that's going to just put a lot of pressure on the wire connectors, and you'll break your solder joints. So, like I said, now we have all this room. We can just clean this up nicely. Thank you, Aces, for making that connection. That is really nice and handy. As you can see, that was simple. Can you imagine trying to plug each and every one of those in? Make sure they're on the right header. Yeah. Takes the headache out of it, which is nice. So what I'm gonna do next is work on what should I work on? So get the power in here. Those are gonna be the next struggle points with this, because of just how things are. And yeah, that's where we're at. So for our power supply, we're going with a 650 watt. This is a fully modular one. It's 80 plus gold. Has a 5-year warranty. Has PCIe 5.1 ready. ATX 3.1 ready. This one, since power supplies have changed because of power demands for everything. So there's our booklets for this guy. They call it the perfect mouse power supply, which is it's another dark flash. There's your different cords. So that's our main power one. That's our big one we'll need. And then there's our 8-pin CPU, or they call it a 4x4. I call it 8 because there's 8 holes, but there's 4, and then one row, 4 on the second. As you can see, multiple other ones. I do believe we will need a SATA one for the fans. They gave us 2 strands of that, which is nice. We'll need a power for. Oh, this is where it's different. Okay. Look at the right one, Joe. 650. There we are. So this is what we have. So, yep, so we'll need one of those for fans. That would be for our our GPU video graphic unit. Sorry, draw a blank. Mine's a little overload. So our CPU one, there's our main one, and then there is our SATA one. So it's just been a while since I built. They do tell you this, which is nice. Do not bend vertically. Do not bend horizontally. What you want to do is come out 35 millimeters for making your bend. The wire starts to bend when it is more than 35 millimeters away from the plug. Just keep that in mind. We don't want to bend them too tight because then we can break the wire inside. Talking about connecting a 12 volt cable with the direction of the connector until the lock is fully suspended. They do different shapes for these. I'll show you once I get the cord out. Alright. So there's our hefty power supply. I have in the past actually taken these apart, replaced the fan with like an RGB one or a more silent fan. You can get theme wise with this. Just want to make sure you get the right size fan, make sure it has the right connectors, and when you're inside this, be super careful. There is a warranty sticker because there's a screw there, but we're not going into this, guy, so we're not going to worry about it. Some people pull this off because, well, your fan's going to be pulling air from the front. That's what we're going to be seeing on the inside. I mean, we could go the opposite way and go that way, which I'm probably going to do, because then it's going to be pulling air from inside the case, exhausting out that way. Like I said, we're not really cramming a lot of power out of this, and this does have it where it is very power proficient, and the fan sometimes will not kick on until it gets hot enough. Of course, we can see our transformers in there. Nice big coil packs. I can see 3 of them right off the top. They're a really big guy there. Those are the ones you want to be careful. That's where zappy, ooh, ouch, comes into play. Hope that made sense. That's pretty, it's got some weight to it. Not as heavy as some of the other ones. That's what I mean by fully modular. And then as you can see, these have now a new rectangular at the top. This one does. And that is our new, the power of the newer graphics cards. Some of the motherboards, and I'll need to use this too. So make sure you get the right power supply that will have the right power for your components. Alright. Also, they gave us some gloves. I wish motherboards did that, because then it'd be nice and better to handle it. Well, actually no, it wouldn't, because when you create static electricity with these guys, which means you're grounding yourself, I'm grounded by my feet, so I'm good there. This would have been, I guess, useful to use with doing your compound and keep it off your hands, but you can always use latex gloves. Alright, so here we are. So this is nice. I know, like Corsair gave me a velvet bag. This one, they gave me just this bag. Oh, there's our power just come flying right out at us. So it is a 3-prong. You're just your regular one for the United States. Then they do keep it nice. So there's your zip ties. These are the ones I'll probably be reusing. See how on these guys, this is what's going to attach to the power supply. See how they're square at the bottom, and then they're have a circular top on the top row. That's how you know which keyway to do it. See, and then there's your clip for snapping it in. These guys are also my frustrating parts. I have actually tried plugging these in and couldn't get it to line up properly because I was working in a really tight space, and I actually cracked it in half. So these are really fragile. Be careful with these guys, but they're better than your Molex, which is this type of plug. I still prefer Molex actually because they're still beefier, sturdier. As you can see with these cables, they are sleeved nicely. So no plastic sleeving, it is actually fabric, which is nice. Should add nice to this because we're trying to go for a classy type case. But anyways, we'll need those cords. Let's see. There's our high power one, so that's what I was talking about. See how there's an extra more power up at the top. 300 watt, yeah. And then it's like that on both sides, which is nice. Do not mix power cords with different, not power. So if this one was dark flash, right, and then this one was the same cord but from Corsair or Asus or something, they're not interchangeable, so be aware of that. Let's see, then we have another one. We already have one of these, so we won't need that. Here is our CPU one, so we'll need this guy. Oh, just because some motherboards have dual CPU plugins at the top of them. This one only has one, so we won't need that. Thank goodness. So yeah, these two I don't need. This guy, that's our big guy right there, as you can see. That's gonna go right there. And then it actually plugs into the power supply in two different spots. And these feel really, really nice. Interesting, they have a zip tie on there. It's not on tight, because I can move it, which is nice. So that's, if you're gonna do zip ties, that's how you do it. Don't crank down on them. So we'll need that guy. And then this is gonna be for our graphics card. I can always tell because of this guy. That's my how-to tell. And then looks like I have another set over here. So if I was doing dual ones, or sorry, my stomach's smelling crazy. It's coffee break time. Anyways, that we'll need that one too. Alright. Always take the extra ones, I put them back in the bag. There is some zip ties in here. For shits and giggles, I'll pull them out. Alrighty. Put that aside. And then here's our tray that slides into the case that our power supply is going to slide into. And it goes so like this. And then I'll have 4 screws that will go and attach here. Oh, yeah, sorry. This one's off to the side. So as you can see, different power supplies take different mounting areas. So I got one here, 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 and then this little J shape. And then obviously, it doesn't have to go that way. You can flip it around. But this is where I was going to get at. See, now we have restrictions. If we go this way, this is going to be at the front of the case. Also, our screw is going to go through this hole. You don't want to make contact with the fan. That's why I was thinking not going in this orientation. But as you can see, well, I flipped it and J-hook's still there. That corner, that corner. So that's why I was thinking I'm going to go this way. One, I'm going to hide the sticker. Actually, it looks like it even fits the sticker nicely there. If the screw does make contact with the back of it, it will. I'll just hold it back up a little bit, but the screws at the top there should be fine. So we'll set that aside. We'll get those mounted real quick. I think those came with the CPU case, so they should be sitting maybe over here. But I am not too worried because I have multiple different parts or hardware. Stabilization is key, which is not helping me out here. So we'll step into here. Okay. So I'm gonna get this just done off camera. All I'm doing is just mounting the bracket to the power supply unit. It's the same way. So far I've used just a Phillips screwdriver through all of this, which is nice. No hex, no flathead. Thank goodness I do not like flatheads. Flathead screws. The screwdriver just slips right off every time. One corner, go to the opposite corner. Cross. And then get this over here. And one more. Don't want to crank down too much on you guys. You want to make sure you use the right length screw. One in here, because if it's too long it will make contact in here, and that's not a fun day. So that's that all mounted up. Looks like it just says most power supply dark flash, but that's fine. I mean, if you're going for aesthetics, you could come in here and trim the tray out. I'd probably come only to maybe here, angle it that way, and then down this way, just to keep some structure integrity. And then yeah, should be set. Also, that power is just like that is on, that's off obviously, but make sure that's on, because in this case that's going to be really hard to get to, so make sure that precaution's on, because with that off your computer won't start at all. So it's just a nice little thing to remember. I think adding the cables first is going to be easier. Then we can mount the power supply. So that's where I'm going to go with that. So we'll start with CPU, since it's right up here. And then we can continue onwards. So that's what I mean by them being daisy chained. So I just go all the way out here to the end. Looks like square on the bottom, round on the top, so right here. Where is it? No. I'm confused. Guess that. Can't really mess that up. That only goes in one way. Thank goodness. Now I can just put that off to the side. So, got that guy installed in there. Right there. I'll probably pass him through the, through this channel, and then he'll be sitting over here. These cords will be pushed down farther. Power supply will come here. It'll take up that much space. There's our indents for cable management. That's going to be for the power cord. You because it's got to come from the back of the case and plug in. I'll show you that here in a little bit. We'll move on to our big guy here. They call this a 24 pin, by the way. So if you want to, you can count, and there's really 12 on top, 12 on the bottom. But if you look actually closely, there is a blank spot there. So technically it's not a true 24 pin. That's not like that all of them, obviously. Since this is just a 650 watt, we were going with a 850, 1000 watt, then yeah, these would be fully populated. Obviously, that's going to your power supply. This is going to your motherboard. So put the zip tie over here so we lose that. Move this out of the way. So go down like this. Pushed in. I'm gonna fish this guy through that. Well, yeah, we'll have to come through this hole because this is a pretty good stack. I mean, I could come this way, but not working with a lot of room behind this plate here. So this is where, you know, continuously planning as you build comes into play. So like I said, we'll get this all pushed back and then buttoned up. Other thing that people do that I don't is they'll actually get all this hooked up outside of the case, power it on, make sure it all works. Then they deassemble everything to just reassemble it back in here, and I'm just like, oh. Yeah. I find it easier to just troubleshoot it while it's still in here. I'm just weird like that. We haven't got our graphics card, so we don't need to worry about that. And we haven't got our fans yet, so don't need to worry about that guy. So what I'm going to do is work on getting some of this cleaned up. Actually, yeah, we'll come out at the bottom. I forgot. I gotta go behind just to come out to plug into the power supply. Just fine. Those guys there. That looks fine that way. That's clean. This is also the downside of having this just floating around. Makes it hard to flip your case around. As you can see, you're going to be moving this thing around quite a bit. So, I'm come to this side of it. Let's see. Okay. This does it. There we go. And then, like I said, you can get really picky and get these nice here and nearly cable manage every so often. There is cable combs, which are just plastic pieces that hold your strands to make it look neat. But if this was colored, I probably would do it that way just because they're going to be visible. But this being black, I'm not going to notice it too much. And then obviously this is going to pop out down here and come to the other side. There's our power supply. Plug. Oh my goodness, they don't make that easy. What? I don't know. Oh, okay, I see. Come that way. Alright. So now all of our cords are just flip-flopping around back here. That's fine. So this one, which will be our next one. There we are. All of that. That is super long. I guess for different cases or something. I don't know. Anyways, I digress. So now let's get the power supply in here, and then we can figure out if I need to move it down or up or however. But now, as you can see, that's where that's going to be. We might do it this way just because of the front there. And then I'm going to pop the front off again. So that'll be in the middle. If I come up, that's going to be the highest point I can get it. But since I'm messing with a radiator, I can go down lower. So that's probably what I'll do. So I'll just drop it to the lowest setting. Right there. And that allows me to have some cable management, however I want to go about it. And we can just play around. So I guess technically the next thing I need to do is get this figured out. That's fine. And obviously, since we know it's going this route, and these tubes are super stiff. This should then allow me to understand exactly if that power supply can come up or down. Obviously, this is not working out. Oh, I guess they do pop out if you're not careful. Okay, good to know. Just set that off to the side. So, I guess I should have had them come off to the other side. Here, let me show you what I'm working with. See, this is where the fun begins. See, that's running right there, which is interfering with not allowing me to actually come down on the other side. Fun, right? So what we need to do is actually just rotate this, and then we'll be fine. Hopefully. Alright, so take a step back so we can move forward. So I'll go ahead and just work on this right off camera real quick. You can uno at my little marvelous piece. And this is why I said sometimes things don't always go as planned. But patience goes a long ways, and with patience, you'll get through it. Okay. Alright, so now I know. I know you guys are having fun watching me build this, huh? That's fine. Laugh, I can take a joke. We're gonna go that route. See? Now these will be out of the way. Only problem is this guy's gonna be visible, but if I wanted to, I could wrap it around, pin it from the back of the case in that way, keep it clean. We'll figure it out when I get there. That guy on the other hand is not gonna be easy to mess with. He's on the back side, but maybe that's why they use flat wires, just in case you run into that predicament. Just gotta be cautious of that. I really do think this is where a pump's at. Alright, so now I got the right orientation. I will be once again reinstalling. And of course now we're playing the juggling game. It's always the first one that is the hardest. And this is why I don't build computers for a living. I am not fast at it because I take my time. I don't use crappy parts. And I don't do cookie cutter builds. And you ain't gonna find this build anywhere else online. That I can guarantee you. Unless someone copies me, which that would be a first. That's also the fun part about building a PC is you're really making this your own. Where? Okay. Here we go. Okay. Several more to go still. And then I can get this. Oh, this is a done headache. Oh yeah, I can slide this, so that's always good. They did not put any mounting here, which is interesting. Which is fine. Oliver, I might have to check my fans and turn them around too, because now they're going to be exposed. That's why I don't like when companies pre-install fans on these guys. Because obviously you want to hide your wires as much as you can. It just makes it cleaner. I mean, this is going to have a solid side piece that you're not really going to see in here. The only time you'll see it is when you're maintaining this. Yep, there we are. Okay. So now we will stand. Get this out of the way. Now let's stand you up. Just lay you over here like so, so I can get this power supply mounted. So yeah, as you see, we had to take a few steps back just so we can take a few steps forward, but that's fine. And then let's do a test fit real quick. Oh, I will need to slide that forward. Okay. Because obviously this back side, oh my goodness. It's okay. I was not planning on. That's funny that they would make this radiator, make this case but not have them play nice together. Last time I checked, this was the only 240 radiator they had. So what am I missing here? Or is it the tolerance just going to be that bad? I think the tolerance is just going to be that bad. That's not good. Wow. Okay. See, guys, sometimes you pay. You just get stuff that just doesn't want to work right. I could force it. Now, that will work. It can come up a notch. That's all I was really looking forward to. Maybe I have to alter this guy. Wow. Not interfering with the plug, which is good. So yeah, as you guys can see, this is my issue I'm running into. Because they put the pump on the back side of this. Makes this different than any radiator ever used. Obviously I need screws to hold the radiator to this piece. But and obviously you can't close it because now we're out of square. If I pop these guys, as you can see, they're loose. That's pushed all the way. See, that screw's already coming out. So as you can see, there's nothing I can do here. Okay, so that sucks. I don't want to put a kink in the tubes just to get them to turn that way. Could alternate the case, cut out the back piece so this would slide through, but then, yeah. Now I would have sharp edges on the wire, and that's not a good day either. Well, what do I do? What do I do? This is in its little position. Yes. Okay. So we'll just keep it in its lowest position. Reinstall the screws to keep the power supply there, and then I guess I'm just gonna have to. Should have kept it the way it was. And we'll just have to take those tubes in ways it wasn't meant to go. Alright, anyways, there we are with that. Okay. We found out these are not self-retaining screws. We found out that this radiator is just, it's a cool design. Definitely stands out differently, but it does not work with this case. If we had a regular case, it would. So obviously, the power supply being able to move down, as you can see, we'll have room. I will just have to get creative with how these big boys will fit in here. We gotta be careful too with the fans. But should shift the fans over because, well, as you can see, this fan will be, it's almost close to the edge, so that means they'll be tucked back here in that corner more. So yeah. But we're toning the front so we can apply the front. I'll give you guys a view of the front, but because I haven't shown you guys yet. So that is a walnut front. We do have a filter piece here for dust control, power button reset, USB, audio, and our USB-C. This is very fragile here, so we want to be very careful not to flex these guys too much, because they will break, and it is wood, and then you will have to go use wood glue, and well, that's going to get messy. I don't know how they have this attached. They probably have used a CNC machine to cut this out. Also, this is really smooth. It's like a satin finish. I don't think there is any stain. That is laser etched in. And then they probably just have double-sided tape holding this on. That's my guess. They don't go all the way to the corner, so if you wanted to, you could get behind here and work it out if you ever wanted to do any custom work to this. But we are to the point now that the front is done and on for good this time. Wish we could say that about our radiator, but I can't. So that's gonna be fun. Alright. One last time. Obviously, I guess the radiator installation is going to be the last thing we do. Which is fine, these cords are more than long enough to do what we need to do. And I don't have to worry about taking the fans off and just flip-flop them. That's good. I'm gonna try something different. That's gonna be risky, but rotate. Alright, that was actually a little easier than I thought. Okay. Definitely a coffee break after this. Sorry, this video is going to be a little longer than usual, but I'm glad I was able to run into some problems so I can show you how I tackle them. Because obviously it wouldn't be a true build video if I did not show the problems that come along with it. That's why seriously doing some research before you get your parts are going to be crucial. So obviously we're going to be living on the extra side, right? Because what I'm going to need to do is shift this as far this way as we can. So I can tighten this up because I know that's where I'm going to need to have it, just so to get the tolerances I need to make things work. Alright, so now I can just lie this over this way. Alright. Well, we're going to lay it down, but you get the point. There we are. That's fine. We'll get these cords out of the way. Oh, where did I get stuck? Oh, not stuck. It's just tangled up. So obviously that's plugging into that. I think that one's going to be. We'll worry about those later. Let's get the power plugged in real quick. Oh, that's gonna be fun too. Alright, how do I go on about this? Got this guy, which is, yeah, alright. One step forward, now we take a step back again, because I'm having a hard time seeing. I should just plug those cords into the power supply, then mount this power supply, but I got sidetracked because I ran into a radiator issue that I wasn't expecting. But we know which slot they need to be in. Okay. So now I can read these. We only have 2 wires, so it's going to be easier to mess with. So I know this is going here. Oh, there we are. This is going here. Make sure you get these pushed in good too, by the way. And then our CPU needs to come up this way. And it doesn't matter which one, just one of the 2. Wait, this is a, yeah. I think that's right. Okay. There's that. I guess while we're out here, we can get these plugged in too, so we don't take another step back. So these are going to be our PCIe. PCIe. Plug you in. There. Okay. And then we have just one more, which is going to be this guy. It's cheaper while we're leaving. Okay. This is your peripherals. As you can see, it's only 6. We'll go here with this one. Alright. It's outside the case. And then this thing out there. Put them on the side, so right there. Put a screw here. Now I can put the front on. Alright. As you can see, as we keep building, we get more and more wires, and everything just starts becoming more and more messier. Also, take the slack out. These are fine. Actually, a little slack in here is fine. There we go. Oh, that's what I thought. I'm totally fine with how that went. Could have had it come across and again, but we're not worried about that. There is that much thickness, so we're good. Don't need that right now. Yeah, so we can work on putting the graphics card in. That'll be easy. do is we'll lay this down because everything else we're going to do in here is somewhat going to be easy. Like I said, we'll leave the radiator fast. So for a graphics card, we want to make sure we pull this off. Don't scratch this because this is what's going to be making contact. Yes, those are gold coated. Oils on my hands, obviously, that's not great. And this is a 2 slot. You can tell because of the 2 notches. So we will need to take out 2 of these screws. Luckily this case makes it easy. We'll take out 2 of these plates. And then we keep the screws out so we can be reusing those. Okay. Alright, I want to make sure this is pushed out. Graphic card, well, the first time I ever installed one, I was nervous as hell. But you want to get lined up straight up in the pin, and then it's like the RAM. You want to go straight down. None of this little sideways stuff, just straight down. And then it will snap in place. Use that little latch in the back will come forward. That's how you know when you got that right. Reinstall the screws. And then longer graphics cards you will get what they call GPU slag. I'm not really worried about that. If you wanted to take that out, you would counterbalance by pushing this up a little bit and then tighten the screws down, obviously while you're continuing pushing up. And then that'll counterbalance it from sagging. But you want to be careful, don't want to push too much. Alright. Oh, I didn't knock my light over. Good. And we have this cover piece that we need to put back on. I call these thumb screws. Nice thing about this case is they have rubber garment on here, which is nice. So that should help with noise dampening. You don't want rattling parts. That just doesn't sound good. I do have rubber feet on the bottom of this guy. These guys I always take and I'll put them back out, maybe in the bag or motherboard box, or just safe spot. Same thing with this guy, you never know when you're gonna need that. Just a nice little dust boot. Alright. And now we're into mounting the fans, which once again I didn't think about. Ooh, actually, since I was doing 3 in the bottom, so yeah, well, it's okay. We know this fits. We've got plenty of room here. This all is going to be somewhat clean. Like I said, we're going to have some turns, but should be alright. So, got ahead of myself. I need to do the fans and then we can put the graphics card in, because obviously can't do that. And this also gives me an idea how easy it's going to be to release this guy. So push down. So that was easy. Sometimes with a graphics cards that latches behind here and good luck at trying to get to it, and especially when they get longer. Alright, so this is what I got for doing these. The fan's going to be a little different, as you can see once I start showing you. And technically I could get away with just, you know, some of the bottom. So obviously the radiator has fans. If you have a cool air from the bottom being drawn in and exhausted towards the top. I'm putting one off to this side so we can add just a little more exhaustion of the air. It does come with the fan hub, RGB hub, all in one, and a remote control. We'll worry about that later. That's part of the whole wire management. Then we have our fans. I have 3 in here because this is a 3-pack. And there's our booklet on that guy. Take a quick look at it, dude. How do you do that? I'm pretty sure I know how this works. Power cable, yeah, that's wherever we need that. Save one. That's what the controller looks like. It's pretty well laid out, but I want to make sure I'll get that done right. Not really much to it. It says long press 2 to 3 seconds. The auto button. When the RGB colors do not match, press the red button repeatedly until the correct red hue is matched. Press off to save and exit. Next time the power cycle of the device, the color will display correctly. So that's all, you just sync them. Just talk about, you could bypass this actually. Since these are all daisy chaining, I could just daisy chain all this and then go into a header off the motherboard and have the motherboard control all of that, which I might do just to save me the headache because I would have to figure out where to mount this guy. So that is a plus side of having certain type of fans, is the daisy chaining. And obviously, like I said, there we go. So this is the difference between my fans I have. So this one came with the case. This one I bought as extra, and as you can see, those are the ones on that, and they all are different. I mean, you get picky and pick out different, you know, or just replace all these with matching fans. I'm not a stickler for that. I do like that these all have rubber on them, which is nice. Oh, that's where that one goes. Yeah, that's sitting over here somewhere. Yeah. Anyways, I will get that one reinstalled. I was wondering where that came from. Now I know. And it goes on like this. I do like that they do have the rubberness, so obviously that just peels off. We're good. Static electricity. That's why I don't really care for those. On some of these they tell you which direction. I think I'm gonna want them this way. I have a cheat sheet. What's down here on my keys here? Take a looky real quickie. Yeah. So best way to tell if these are just regular fans, air comes right out of here. Because it would not make sense to have it this way, because then the air would be just blocked, and yeah, you get so that is that way. So I gotta install these upside down. That's what I'm getting at with that. And this one will be going on the back of the case. So I'll worry about that later. We'll get the ones on the bottom installed first. So I'll stand this back up again. Okay. Here's this guy. Do we have any plastic things peeled? I mean, we could take that off if we didn't want the logo on. It doesn't bother me, since you're going to be seeing this side anyways. Cables, where would I? Oh, I can run them along the channel and down these, so that's good to know. But I'm going to daisy chain these guys. So zip tie heaven with all these. So that's why I always use zip ties, because when you're getting new parts, you're gonna have definitely a lot of zip ties, different lengths, and all that jazz. So, oh yeah, I'll plenty room back here, so that's good. So what I'll do is I'll just mount these guys, and then make sure these cords are pushed forward, daisy chain them, pull the slack out through the back. That makes it easier. Alright. Now, there's a thing. They're in here. I'll just show you guys this real quick since I'm in here. So these are called status bags, which means the parts inside will not get damaged by a stacked electricity, which is nice. I always tend to try to keep these because, well, they're really good to have. So as you can see, there's our double-sided pad. I hate these guys. They don't seem to stick very well. And really be off our SATA. So if we don't use this, we could actually remove the SATA from the power, and that would be one less cord to manage. And there's a 12-volt power reset with just a jumper. There's our Aura sync, but we can just go right off the board, so no need to worry about that. I believe, where would this go? Over here. So that's our PWM header right there, and then it'll attach to the top there. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not a game changer. Actually, let me see how bad this would stick out. It'd be nice to have it that way, but yeah, no really good place to put it. And I am not. So yeah, we'll not worry about this guy. I'll leave it there in case, but no need to worry about that. So let's go ahead and continue onwards. So here's going to be our screws. We have 3 separate packages. These guys are always interesting. They're really big, and then the thread on it really stands out. But how would I mount that? I'm confused. Do I come in from the bottom then? That's weird. Yeah. Yep, that'll be coming from the bottom. Yay for me again. Alright. Slide these out of the way. These out of the way. There we are. Okay. There's that guy. Should be something. Okay. Stay out of the way for right now. As you can see, we have two, so we can just daisy chain them over and over and over. That's what I said. That's probably how I'll go about it. So now I'll need to lay this back down. And now I get to do things the interesting way. So find it. Oh, I used the right screw. Okay. It's starting to grip. I was worried there for a second. I was like, what's going on? There we go. So that's done. Just that up just a tad. This one. And what this is actually doing is just threading, making a thread through the plastic. So technically, you turn it too much, it'll just strip out the thread you're putting into the plastic, and you'll have to just get a really long bolt and a nut, washers, all that, and pass it through that way. Okay. Oops. Sorry. I'm shaking everything. Oh, real quick. Alright, so that's in there good. That ain't going nowhere. Make sure you're tied all the way around. Okay. Now those cords are fine. Move on to the next one. And then, and then. No, and then. So far, I've only seen one flaw with this case, and that's just the radiator hose interfering with that. That's our lowest setting, so even if we went with a smaller power supply, we're only going to go that short and still would be running into issues. So we would have to use a different radiator for this for that to work, but that's okay. Okay, let's see, we are going to need to pull those power cables through a little more. Where are you? Oh, there they are. Take up that slack because we don't want those to be making contact with the fan. And of course, I can leave it out. I feel like the more fans we have, more air we be pulling and pushing, and the cooler our parts will be. And that's the whole point of this, is keeping our parts cold. Nobody likes overheating. So I'll just slide this one in. course, we want to go right next to that. And I thought I could do 3 on the bottom. That's what it said. Well, damn. Could I mount the hard drive on the bottom here? So I could do that. Well, I think that's what I'll do then. I'll just go about it this way. Alright. So you can't fit 3 at the bottom. Noted. Okay. Is that a deal breaker? No, not really. This means just can't do it. Which is fine. Those we can go that way. One in here, and I got one more, and then fans at the bottom will be done, and then I can move to the side. And then we're pretty much almost done. Oh, there you are. I don't know. That blows my mind. Alright, there we are. I will not put a spinning hard drive in here just because I already have 2 M.2s and there seem to be decent ones. Ones for the last fan. This way we'll just keep them all the same. See how this mounts. That'll give me an idea. Oh, right there. So I could run them down and over. That's probably what I'll do. How's that look there? That looks good. See, this one it's nice because it allows me to literally slide it all the way to here. So as you can see, I can maneuver it however I want. But for right now, this will do. I'll just get it somewhat done. And then all my wires I can connect. Wind up nicely, push. Oh, actually. Wind up nicely, come up over this way because my fan's over here with my RGB. Oh, and I'll need to tie to that guy too. So, start this fan will connect to that one will connect to that will connect to this guy. And then we'll be set. Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together. Alright. Fighting gravity. That's fine. Alright. We should get one started, the rest should be somewhat easy. Come here. Alright. And all I'm doing is just trying to sturdy it on the other side so I can apply some pressure without bending this, because this is really thin metal. Obviously, after I get this all installed, and it's simple, just do a quick power on to show you guys. And then you might be saying, "Oh, what the hell? What are you talking about? You haven't done no wire management, none of that." That's fine. So where do I want this? I want it downward, right there. I guess we'll loosen it up for right now until I get the radiator put on. So that's probably why they did it this way. So you can constantly move it around. There we are. Alright. So now, just lay these over. And we can go from there. Oh, wrong way. Oh, I didn't undo the zip ties on these guys. Well, that's fun. Okay. The thing I do like about the bigger motherboards is you have more fan headers, and each of those fan headers you can actually program each fan to run different speeds than the other fans in the case. So you could create a more dynamic set. So different controls or different stuff. Well, it's all done through software. I do remember there was a way of. Oh, this is going to be the spare one. That's right. Alright, so I'm going to find fan header on this guy. Connect. Alright. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's that. That's done. And then this one. I think so. This one is going to be. As you guys can see, that is really, really thin. But they do make it nice because it's arrow to arrow. Oh, so that's how it's going to have to be. So there's that set. Alright. And now we move to this so I can get this done. So this will be a fan, which is going to be this way. And then obviously now that goes this way. Oh my goodness. I guess I could come down this way and do it. So we'll worry about that later. Now we're to the RGB on this guy. Then we can install. Okay. So we need to go this way. Right? Yeah. Okay. So boom. Connected. Oh, that one connected nicer than this guy did. Why? Interesting. That's where I'm not picky. There's a quality control issue. As you can see, they didn't get that one pushed down all the way. That's just a sleeve, so yeah, they didn't get the sleeve done. So there's another gripe, but hey. That's why I do this for you guys, so you have an idea what to be looking for. Alright, so now this guy is our RGB. So it'll be our fan, it'll be this guy here. And it should be this guy that it connects to. Right? Yes. No. This here. Okay. Of course, you don't have to hook these up, but if you're spending the money, might as well, right? And then we have the fans on this guy. What is this? Oh, more RGB. Okay. Still think I can make this work. And fan. So that will just thinky here. Just go here with this. Okay. So that's handled. And now I got this I gotta worry about. See? Spaghetti mess. All this for what? Yes, you can have some fancy lights. I mean, obviously you can pull this back and go about that way, but I want to get this at least plugged in so I can show you guys what it looks like. Obviously that's got to go down that way, so I need to find this guy. Okay. Now I got a big, there's a mess of crap everywhere. And obviously these two got to get plugged in. And I still have this guy to get plugged into. So I need to figure out out of you. Zip tie, zip tie, zip tie, everywhere. I just want to get this plugged in so you guys can see just exactly what we're going to be messing with. And then, like I said, then it's just cable management from there, which I don't want to bore you guys with. So, but you need to make sure you get one into the CPU fan, and then the other one into the pump fan for this to actually turn on. So that's kind of like a fail-safe, which is nice. But here we go. And then we should be able to stand this up, get this all in, and then obviously I'll run wires differently. We did not end up using that, so don't need this guy. Graphics card will be the next thing I need to put in. But like I said, figuring out my wiring mess. It's going to be the chaotic part here. I guess I can just go this way with it for right now, and then I can always come back and clean it up. But as you can see, there's plenty of room down here. So plenty of spots to, you know, cable manage. And then obviously over this way it gets a little crazier, but it's doable. So now we'll stand this guy up. Figure this out now, because that's where we're at. And then man, they really did not make that easy at all. Yeah, let's still got a power supply issue. Fun. Alrighty. So I'm gonna have to figure out something here. Or figure out a different way of mounting the power supply in here. And get rid of that rack and make my own, which is a thought. I don't know how I'd go about it, to be honest. It's gotten really messy now with wires everywhere. Literally just troubleshooting this is where I'm at. Maybe if I had some longer screws it would allow this to hang. No, it's the bracket really what's in the way. Damn. Alright. Let's move the power supply off of here real quick. So this is really where we're at with this issue. Power supply is not playing nice with. Yeah, I'll prove it to you. First we'll lift this up, and then come on. There we go. Now with the power supply out of the way, look at that, we fit. That's the downside of this case too, is now stretched it a little bit. But as you can see, that's our issue. Still fixable though, I just need to come down here, figure out what slots I need to. Let's put this top on real quick and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm gonna be fishing for that guy later. This is getting annoying. Come on. Thank you. Trying to get stuff to line up and I don't want to line up. Right. There we go. So now I can see it's starting to come together. So obviously, that's just cable management, which is going to be the downside of this. Okay. Then I gotta go down here. So now I'm fine. Let's go with rocks. Actually, I don't have a spare one. I think I might. Oh, it's a flatter top. That's fine. I do have a flat top. Cool. See, this is why having spare parts is always a good thing. That's why I wish they would stop cheaping out and send you with extra parts, so if you lose screws, you have always a backup. At least one would even be good, you know? And since I know this is where we're at, tighten this down. Tighten, 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 tighten. Because we do have a big chunk of metal with a lot of liquids in it, hanging from the top. Making the top heavy. That's fine. Yeah, I will literally just need to figure out where to mount the power supply now that I got that. So it looks like they cooperated. Okay, just into there and be done. Slide down. I might be able to get some screws into there. Alright. But anyways, that's where I'll be at on that. Anyways, once I get this, I gotta mod this a little bit. And then obviously cable management, and then I'll show you guys the finished piece. So stay tuned with me for that.